name's Viv Simmons and I did the cover nails for NAILPRO magazine, November 2016. Please check it out. Love to hear your feedback.
And this is Stephanie Lavery. Viv, it's so nice to have you back at NAILPRO. It's been a number of years since you've been here to do a cover for us, and we're so happy to have you back.
It's absolutely fantastic to be back.
So in the past, you've done a number of amazing designs for us, out of acrylic mostly, but this time you're using a brand new medium, gel.
Yes, the entire cover is made from all gel products.
So let's talk about how you created the nails, starting from applying the forms.
Okay, so I used a clear gel product to basically sculpt out the nail, and then over the top of the nail, so once the product was filed and shaped and all the nails were filed and shaped, I then used a translucent gel and I lined the edges with a gel paint to give it more depth so that the inside was nice and clear and the outside had almost like a shadow effect going through it. And then I went in and added the 3D gel design on top.
So let's talk about those 3D bows. They're so cool. From the simpler ones, which I think are more wearable, to the huge one on the ring finger. How do you create those?
I've been using a dot maker. So what I do is I wrap a form around, or the middle part, the middle section of the form around the dot maker, and then using the 3D gel powder, I sculpt it around the curve of the dot maker, so that when I actually cure it, I'm actually twirling the dot maker in the lamp to make sure that it cures on all sides. Once that's done, I use a little bit of gel cleanser to clean over the top, and then I slide the end of the bow off the dot maker and I put that in a lamp to cure the inside area. And then I create the other side of the bow doing the exact same thing. Then I put them together with a thicker gel. It's got a thicker consistency or a viscosity, and I use that to put both ends together to create the actual full bow.
So you really start by constructing it in small pieces and then putting the whole thing together at the end.
Yes, so each side of the bow is constructed separately.
How about when you're doing that super large bow? Same technique?
Same technique, but different sizes, so various sizes. The two on the outside were much larger, and then I had 4 of the same size that kind of almost pieced in, and then I had smaller ones that I sat upright. So using the thick viscosity gel, I wedged them in upright so that it gave it that more of a raised effect.
Did you top coat the nails before you placed the bows on them?
Yes, I did. I used a tackless top coat. And the reason I used that one is because I wanted a really smooth surface. When working with acrylic or gel 3D, sometimes there's leftover residue of your design that may end up on a nail. With using a good top coat, you can actually easily slide that off or clean the surface so that it gives a nice clean finish rather than having bits of gel or acrylic stuck on a surface. It's easier to wipe it back.
You make this look so incredibly easy, but it certainly takes practice. Any tips for techs out there who want to start practicing this technique?
So as most people would be aware, I've been doing acrylic for countless years, acrylic design with all my comps and so forth. When I first started playing around with gel and gel powder predominantly for doing 3D design, I admittedly hated it. I could not get it right. It was just mind-boggling. But I persevered because I've now purchased a salon, and working in a salon, I didn't want to have the smell of acrylic, being more of a beauty salon. So once I got the consistency right, working with the gel, I actually found it so much easier because with gel, the difference between gel and acrylic, you can add to it and you can take it away, and it doesn't affect the whatever design you're doing until you cure it. So with gel, you can add, so let's say, for example, you're doing a rose or some sort of design where you need to stop. You can actually snap cure it and then go back and add, and you can blend the two ends in together so that they're completely smooth and seamless, and then continue on from there. So it's so much more forgiving and so much more flexible, not in its consistency, but more so in your design options than working with acrylic.
And once people master this technique, I mean, you can really create all the pieces for bows and keep them in a little box in the salon, right? And then you don't have to actually spend the time sculpting in front of a client.
They have started making pieces, putting them in little containers. They put a price on it. So, for example, they may charge $5 for a bow, and they have it there, and the client can choose which design. They just basically stick it straight on. So, obviously, if you're working in a salon, you don't want to have anything too raised because, clients are going to catch it and so forth. But you can actually do half the bow so that it sits a lot flatter, but they're still able to wear those designs.
So once you were done with sculpting the bow, then you added a little bit more color to the edges.
Yeah, so I highlighted each of the bows with some other, like with an alternative colour. So for the red bows, I used a gold glitter with a number 1 fine liner brush, and I just outlined each of the edges. And with the gold bow, I used like a platinum coloured gold.
Of course, one of the other standout nails is the one that's encrusted with stones. So amazing. How do you begin to create that?
Can I begin by thanking Kim from Swarovski, USA, for the amazing support that she's given me, and also all the absolutely stunning Swarovski crystals that she supplied for the cover. Okay, so basically what I did was I got out a variety of red. We used some gold. There was Dorado, and which is more of a metallic kind of gold crystal, and in various different sizes and shapes. So I put the big ones in first, and I embedded that into a thicker viscosity gel, clear gel. And when I say embed, only up to just the edges of the crystal, not over the top, because you lose the sparkle, you lose the shine if you take the gel over the top. So you've got to make sure that you keep it relatively thin but thick enough to place the crystal in and kind of press it in a little bit so it secures it. So I started with the big ones, then I started using the medium-sized ones. I placed the feature crystals where I wanted them, and then I went in and filled all the gaps with the different sizes and the different colours.
In photo shoots, we often leave the stones as they are. We don't cap them with gel. Obviously, we want to capture the different facets of them for the cover. But if you were doing this in the salon, could you use the same technique, or would you have to cap them with gel?
We never cap them with gel, not with Swarovski. You'll just basically lose the shine, and there's so many facets to them that they just pop. So it will ruin the whole effect by capping them. If you use, like I said, a medium to thick viscosity, preferably a thick viscosity gel that's not going to move, you embed the crystal just up to, say, the rim so that it's not covering any of the facets, cure it, and then go back with a very thin viscosity gel, something that's got a little bit of strength in it, and a very fine brush. And where you can, just outline the edges or go in between the crystals, and that gives it that little bit of extra security.
Well, thank you so much, Viv, for schlepping all the way out here from Australia, extending your trip so you could come visit us and do this cover for us. I think that these are beautiful nails. They're totally getting me into the holiday spirit, and I hope our readers are as inspired by them as I am.
Absolutely. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been so great coming back. And I can't tell you how much it's meant to me being able to catch up with everyone again. And even at the show, it was just amazing to see everyone again. It's been a while since I've been out here. So it was like coming home and catching up with family and friends. It was great.